Let me also hand over to Graeme, because he can unpack for you how we do what we do. We offer this content in various different ways. Graeme.
Thanks, Efren. We use this diamond as a way to make sure that we're thinking holistically about all the different change drivers that organizations like yourselves are focusing on. We then take this content and we need to obviously package it in a way that we can get it to you and to your team and get people thinking and acting on it. We package it in a variety of ways, reasonably traditional. Presentations is probably the point that many of our clients first engage with us. It's the easiest starting point. It's a very limited session. It allows you to gauge how your organization responds to our message and our style. And we package almost all of our different frameworks into keynote presentations. We prefer not to do the after dinner type talks, although Keith has about 3 jokes, mainly about the sharks, which he's prepared to tell at a price. But it's mainly obviously at your conferences and internal meetings. A keynote presentation, anything from a small group of people that you just want to drop an input into and get them thinking, right the way up to big annual conferences with thousands of people in the room. We've got a good team of people who are very skilled at the presentation skills type of approach. We use multimedia. We don't like the sort of death by PowerPoint. We're pretty much using the graphic approach. We use a lot of multimedia. So intelligent entertainment maybe is a nice summary to that start of things. But there's a reason that we are still passionate about the keynote presentation. And that is that actually you need to get people to have an aha moment. You need to get people to have a switch. It's probably a cliche to call it a paradigm shift, but actually that's what people need. A paradigm shift, by definition, is when you don't give people a lot of new information, but you allow them to take all of the information they already have and switch a new light onto it. And suddenly something makes sense. So you're talking to your teams. Your business is telling them about what the future might look like and helping them to ask all the questions. And what you maybe need is somebody who can just come in and shine a new light on it and to say, here's a framework that makes sense of everything you've sort of got in your mind. And that's what a good keynote presentation can do. We also are pretty good on the after lunch session on the second day of your conference. That's the one none of you want, okay? That's what we can do, because this is what we do for a living. So we can come in and bring that energy boost into a conference. But most of you know what those keynotes are about. The second thing to highlight this morning is workshops. Workshops are essentially taking the same information, but instead of packaging it just in a sort of one-way communication, we allow for some interaction. And it really is about getting your team to say, so what does this mean for us? We do 2 things in a workshop that sort of are in addition to the content that comes with it. The first is we find out what your leadership team's agenda is. What are the key points you believe your people need? And part of that is a consultative process as well. You may think you know what you need, and there may be a few things you haven't thought about that we can dip into, but it's really about where are you wanting to go with your team. And the second thing we bring is an ability to think on our feet, an ability to engage with all the various industries, all the various engagements we've had over more than 10 years together to work out exactly what you need in the moment in a workshop. So it's sort of at one level focused and directed, at another level open-ended to see where things go. And we're going to do a little bit of that later this morning, giving you an opportunity to just engage with us, to chat with us, to say what your current challenges are and how we might see some responses to that. So you'll have an opportunity to do that later. We then have a segment of the business which we call our New World of Work Solutions. This is sort of in the traditional training space, but it's more than training. It's about saying what are the skills that people are going to need in this new world of work? What are the practical skills required? It's one thing to talk about generational differences as an idea. It's another thing to actually manage a team that has 3 different generations in it and set up a meeting and manage engagements. And so where practical skills are required, we're able to get involved as well. And that's actually the part of the business that Saffron heads up, in terms of making sure that we have those practical skills. And then over the last number of years, we have increasingly received invitations from business schools and from large organizations all around the world to get involved in their leadership development programs. And this is something that we've increasingly got involved in and have really found that we have not only a passion for, but also an expertise. Leadership development programs are much longer programs. They are more integrated into a company's key objectives. They involve a variety of different techniques. In fact, we talk about three things. There's the content that you need from any program, but then the methodologies are absolutely vital. And leadership development programs include actually all of these aspects, as well as things like coaching, even a little bit of consulting. They're often built in internal programs that need to be completed by the participants. Many of your organizations have these programs. And over the years of being involved in sort of being brought in as experts on other people's programs, we have now over the last 3 or 4 years got really involved in the design and the architecture of these programs, and have found that this is something that our particular approach to the new world of work, it really seems to be making a lot of sense for many of our clients. And Keith will talk about that in a little bit more detail in a moment. There is a third aspect to this, and this is where we feel at Tomorrow Today that we are bringing something it's not unique, but I think it's certainly something very different from the traditional leadership development programs. And that is to also consider the platform itself. Many of you who have been friends of Tomorrow Today for many years will know that the generational insights are really something that is quite key and in the background of everything that we do. And the generational insights today tell us that today's young people are not just younger versions of us. It's not just that you have to, funky up, and that's why Keith wears the jeans, because he needs to be more strongly connected to the young generation than I do these days. But it's not just about sort of funking up the old style. There's a whole new way of thinking, of learning, of engaging, and we've got to build platforms that make sense of that. E-learning platforms, social media platforms, electronic engagement platforms. And so we have partnered a number of years ago with a company called DigitLab, and you'll hear from Mike Saunders, who is also a partner in Tomorrow Today, a little bit about the social media side of things. And that really provides a platform for much of the ongoing leadership development program work that we do. So very quickly, if you will allow me to just boast a little bit on the behalf of the team. We probably as a team get close to about 200 keynote presentations every year in organizations of all sizes and all industries. I think the biggest conference that any one of the team spoke at last year was a massive conference of all the aqua farmers, all the people who work with aquaculture and fisheries and so on. It was held in Stavanger in Norway, and the opening speaker on the second day was Kofi Annan, the ex-UN president, whatever they call him, Secretary General, thank you for the title. And I closed that day with a few thousand people from all around the world. And we're comfortable on that stage as well as comfortable on smaller stages as well. Our workshopping environments, again, we do a lot of work with companies of all sizes, all different departments. Probably our best workshopping is done in 3 areas of the business. We do a lot of work with strategy, which is often the CEO's office, and we've worked with probably 100 or so of the world's biggest brands over the last 2 or 3 years. The full list is on our website. We look at HR, which is typically leadership or teamwork or talent, and then also the marketing, sales, and customer experience side. One of our best experiences as a workshop, and it's one we still regret a little bit, was a bank that we worked with who was sending out loan kind of advertising, saying to people you can get a personal loan. This actually was with our UK team in the UK. It was for a £5,000 personal loan, and you just sort of sign the form at the bottom, send it back. And they were very happy with the results they were getting. They were getting a 0.4% return on that letter. They sent it out to 1/24th of their database every month. So every 2 years you got one of these letters. And they were, as I say, happy with the response. So we went in and we said, on the basis of generational understanding, let's send a different letter to each one of the different generations. So if we look at the date of birth of the person, we just literally create 3 different letters, and we send to anybody in their 20s one letter, to anybody in their 30s and 40s another letter, and then their 50s and 60s. They wouldn't let us do anything else. We couldn't set up social media, we couldn't set up a different website, just the letter. And in doing that, they gave us 2 options. They said, well, because we measure this thing so closely, we know exactly whether there's going to be an improvement or not. Would you be interested in taking a share of the results rather than payment at the time? We should have done that, because we more than doubled their response rate, which resulted in a £7 million profit for the bank estimated over the next 2-year period. I'm still not sure why we didn't go for that. Anyway, maybe it was just us being a little bit nervous of some of the banking approaches that they had to, possibly the measurements going slightly differently if we had taken that route than if we had gone this route. Anyway, I won't malign any of my clients. It was a good result for them and for us. We do a lot of the new world of work solutions type engagement. In fact, we have some people in the room who are from some of our clients that we've done a lot of work with, ArcelorMittal, and I know Robert Norton Rose, Saffron's been involved in doing a massive mentoring program, not just going in and doing mentoring, but actually teaching lawyers to mentor. And with all due respect, that's a tough gig. Lawyers are a great environment, as are obviously engineers and accountants. Professional services are our toughest clients in the sense that they are very strong-willed, individual, career-focused people who often need to be given a set of skills to supplement in this new world of work. And I know it's Saffron's favorite anyway, certainly ours as well. And then our leadership development programs. I won't say more on that. Keith will pick up that story